World Autism Awareness Day. The entire month of April is Autism Awareness Month. I thank the Center for Learning and Teaching and Center for Applied Psychology for inviting me to speak on autism spectrum disorder that I gave the title, The Rising Star. I know many of you are wondering, what is this twinkle, twinkle, little star? Rising star? What has it to do with autism? Well, don't worry. Follow on. As the presentation goes on, you'll see the meaning in this. I've been in practice in Ipoh for the last 20 years. At that point, as any parent would ask me, Star's mom asked me, will my child talk? Will my child go to a regular school? I respect these questions and I respect the feeling with which the parents ask this question. But to be honest, at that point in time, I have no answer. If someone could answer what date the child can talk, that is God for me. So what I told mom is, Mom, we have to focus on now and give the child the necessary support, and the results and answers will come as it goes. 17 years ago, there was not so many support for children with autism in Ipoh. Today, there are many centers. 17 years ago, there was one center that offered him once a week early intervention. Once a week is not sufficient. And again, teachers are not the only, due respect to teachers, but teachers are not the only solution. There needs to be parental involvement. Very, very important parental involvement. So I had a session with mom, going through her how she can help. So did the intervention center. So she did a lot of teaching aids. Children with autism are visual learners. So she made many teaching aids to teach him about names of objects, names of people, names of animal, what should be a routine, do a social story with pictures, what is a routine for the day. And she was doing this every day. And every evening, without fail, she will read him a story and she will sing the song, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. This went on. But mom never gave hope. However frustrating it was, she never gave hope. And like a fairy tale, at 5.5 years old, one night when mommy was singing, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and Star just jumped out and said, Mommy, I love you. Yes, it was like a fairy tale. And that's how from then on, his speech and language improved. A boy at 2.5 who had no language, at 7, he improved so much in language that he was in a regular school. He finished the entire primary school in a regular school, in a small school where he had more attention from the teachers. Today, he is 19 and he is in a private college doing counting. He has made great improvement. However, he still has some difficulty. The difficulty in understanding social situation, understanding others' perspective, and also making friends. Ladies and gentlemen, the word autism, when we had the word cloud, the first word that came out was disability. It may look like a disability, but look, the word disability comes from ability. And the story of Star, whom I call the rising star, has shown you how if you are supportive, you can bring out the ability in this. With this positive note, I now hand back to the moderator. Thank you. Krishna?
Okay, Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this story with us. It's an eye-opener to us, I mean, at least to me. Okay, so now we shall start the session. On behalf of the organizing committee, all right, would like to thank all the participants for submitting your questions about autism. Okay, Dr. Shan has looked into these questions and he will address most of your questions in the interactive sharing session that will start shortly. All right, so Dr. Shan will be covering 5 areas of autism, and one more, another area which doesn't fall into the existing 5. Okay, and I'll be leading this session by asking a few questions. So all of you participants, you are welcome to ask question anytime by using the raise hand function. All right, so or you can type your question in the chat box. Okay, so let's start. The first question that I would like to ask would be, what is autism?
Okay, I need to share screen first.
Yeah.
Right. Krishna, before I start answering that question, I saw someone had put up raise the hand, the icon had come up. Does someone has a burning question to ask?
I don't see any.
Oh, okay.
Did anyone raise your hand just now and
I saw that.
it?
Okay, fine. I'm trying to get this into the presentation mode. Yeah. Yep. Okay. This is any questions first from the story that you all heard? Christina, I can't see the chat box. If anyone puts a question in the chat box, can you please read it to me?
So far, nothing yet. Nothing yet.
Right.
Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Okay, to understand autism, first we need to understand what is normal. To know what is deviant from normal, you need to know what is normal. And the normal development has got 4 domains, 4 main domains: the gross motor, vision and fine motor, hearing, speech and language, social, emotional and behavior. These are the 4 areas of development in which we monitor the development of a child. This monitoring takes place during every well child visit. The well child visit in Klinik Kesihatan, where they go for the immunization, or if the parents have chosen to go to the private hospital with a private pediatrician to have the follow-up. And every visit, there are questions asked, there's observation made to see that they are meeting the milestones. So, okay, normal development. There is a developmental milestone and there is a limit age. The picture the graphic that you see here is a child that's born, that's not walking until he or she stands up and starts walking. And there is a time frame in which this happens. Let's take the skill of walking. 50% of children start to walk, take the first few steps at the age of 12 months. This is the median age, and this is called the milestone for walking. So developmental milestone is the median age at which a child achieves a certain skill. Then you have the limit age, and the limit age is the age by which this child must have achieved that skill. So independent walking must happen by 18 months. So when a parent asks me when my child will walk, I usually will say 12 to 18 months. If after 18 months, at 20 months, at 22 months, the child is not walking, then we have to investigate, and following which we will say, if it's confirmed the child is not walking, the child has been given opportunity and yet still not walking, then it is said the child is delayed. If you look at certain I picked out certain skills to tell you the median and the limit age. Walking, median age is 12 months, limit age is 18 months. Mature pincer grasp, which is very important for most of our self-help skills, buttoning, zipping, pen writing is very important. Median age is at 10 months and the limit age is 12 months. And now we come to language, which is more related to, very much related to autism spectrum disorder. You can see that the median and limit age for cooing, babbling, single word, 2 words, and 3 to 4 word sentence, the limit age is 36 months. Having said that, the language development is very variable. If you do not stimulate a child, if you're not talking to your child, if you're not playing with the child, you're not singing songs with the child, that in itself can cause a delay in the language development. But generally, we take a cutoff by 3 years. We do not talk in short sentences. We are concerned. We may not jump to say it is a problem, but we are concerned. And the social skill, this very important skill is smiling between 6 to 8 weeks. If the baby doesn't have a responsive smile, that means when you smile, baby smile back at 8 weeks, then we are concerned again. And they wave bye-bye by 12 months, starting from 10 months to 12 months, and symbolic play, imitation play, like taking a piece of wood and putting in the ear and acting like it's a phone. This starts from 18 months and they have it by 30 months. And if they do not have this symbolic play 30 months, that's again concerning. And this is where when you have concerns, when the child has not achieved the skill at the median age, you review. And then at limit age, still not achieved, you delay and you may want to refer to a senior person for further assessment. And this is where it is at 36 months, failure to speak in 3-word sentences is a red flag. A red flag means a concern. We do not make any diagnosis from one feature, not just one feature. We have to know the whole story. As you heard during the story, I said a detailed history and an observation is done before any diagnosis is made. Okay, relating the normal development to autism. Autism is a social communication difficulty. What does that mean? What it means is you may have speech. The myth is autism children don't talk. There are a group of autism children who talk, who can speak very well, who may speak like little professors. But here, they're not saying an impaired speech. You saw the word, they said is impaired communication. And it is social interaction, social communication impairment. That means you may have language, but you have difficulty in using that language for a social purpose, for conversation.
你在听什么吧？
Difficulty. Room master, can you please mute? Thank you very much. Thank you. So using the communication for social purpose. The children, autism children who can talk, they use the language to ask for what they want. I want this, I want that, I want this. That is, I want, to meet their needs only. But to come back from school and tell a story, to come back from kindergarten and tell, Mommy, today my friend had a birthday, they cut cake. No. That's where the lag is, the impairment in social communication and social interaction. I mean, they tend to keep themselves, be in their own world. The interaction is minimal. Or they interact when they want. When they want something, they will interact. So the delay or the impairment is in social interaction and communication. Now it is called as one term, impairment in social communication. And together with this, since they are in their own world, they become very restrictive in what they like. Like you saw earlier, Star was obsessed. The mother said he's obsessed with the truck. He's obsessed with block. He always want to play with the block, always want to play with the truck. We too have habits that we always want to do. So do we all have autism? The answer is no. As the difference is, in children and individuals with autism, they find it difficult to adjust. When you try to take the truck away from Star, you get a tantrum. And it's a difficult tantrum to deal with. So it is that rigidity, they are very rigid with that behavior. Restrictive, repetitive behaviors with restricted interest, with great rigidity. The big difference with one child wanting to do the same thing and a child with autism is that rigid. So therefore, the features in autism is there is delay, impairment in social communication and in their behavior, where they have restrictive, repetitive behavior in a narrow area of interest. This is a neurobiological disorder. They have the centers for speech, for behavior, for understanding social rule. But those software, the circuits are disturbed. And as a result of that, they don't link well. So they do not understand social cue. They do not understand I can use language to communicate with people. I can use language to make friends. And this is a lifelong disability. We talk about improvement. We do not talk about cure. Though the very first question from every parent that I've met is, can this be cured? In the initial stages, my answer is silence. Though I know the answer that there will be improvement, but there will be some features left. As you heard in the story of the star, he's 19 now, has improved so much, he speaks so well, he's in a college. However, he has difficulty making friends. He has difficulty understanding others' perspective. Yes. Why do I remain silent in the early stage? Because I want to maintain hope and engage parents. And when they themselves understand their child better, they are in a position to understand, yes, this is a lifelong disability, but it's not the end of the road. There can be so many improvements. And our child, we can bring the best out in the child. Hope is very important. So how you communicate with the parents, how you engage the parents in the process of revealing the diagnosis is so important. Now, re-emphasizing what I said, impaired communication. There is no eye contact. As you saw, Star, he was always looking at objects. If you do not look, you see, now we are doing through Zoom. I can't see any of your faces, but I know all of you are there. But you probably can see me because I'm seeing my slides. However, I can maintain my interest because I know you all are there. But the child with autism has no eye contact and in the world of own and is not aware the other person is there as well. That's one impairment of communication. The other is when they cannot express themselves. You saw Star looking at the water. However, in this picture, you see the boy is taking his mummy's hand to the toy that he wants and making her pick it up for him. So this is impaired communication. Impaired social skills. Look at the girl in pink who just pulls away from the group, prefers to play on her own. And the other boy in the park is on his own in the seesaw. They enjoy their own company. We all do enjoy our me time. But the difference is this is consistent, this is persistent, and that is what they want. Adjusting is difficult. And lack of understanding of social rules, showing back to the others. And some children, if they want to go to the toilet, little boys, they just pull down their pants and just go, not worried who is around them. Or there's inappropriate touching. And they have restricted repetitive behavior. For some reason, children with autism like car. They like train. Those higher functioning children can tell you details about the different types of train, Thomas the Tank Engine and all his friends. They like to arrange them in a row, look at them, and they like this gazing. And together with these features, why are these children very active? Why are they running around most of the time? Why do they walk on tiptoes? It's because they have difficulty in managing the sensory input, the light that comes to the eyes, the noise of others talking. They cannot cut that off. It causes a lot of confusion within them. And they express that by screaming, as you saw Star did when he first came to my clinic. And they gaze like this because the light that they see in between is a stimulation for them. This is again a sensory issue. So they have impairment in. So autism is a neurobiological disorder with impairment in social communication. They have restricted, repetitive behavior in narrow area of interest, and they have associated sensory issue. And the level and severity varies. And that's where the term autism spectrum disorder comes in. Okay, the diagnosis that I make, that is a developmental diagnosis. It is not an IQ test. So before the age of 7, we usually have a developmental assessment. But it is known, more than 60% of these children have a normal intelligence. And about 5% of them are savants. They have special skills in music and art. If you look at this drawing, art here, the piece of art of the brain, how intricate it is. And if you see in the next picture, this is Dr. Temple Grandin. And again, another story from fairy tale. This doctor, as a child, she likes animals. She runs after her cows, the horses, especially the cow. And when she feels uncomfortable, she will hug the cow. And when she was again, for some reason, 5 years plus, she was in the car with her mom, and her mom was almost going to knock the cow, and they tried to avoid it, and they skidded. And that's when she shouted, "Mommy, help me!" And she started talking. And today, she's got PhD in animal husbandry, and she is Professor Dr. Temple Grandin. Autism is much more common in boys, 4 to 5 times. And the prevalence of autism in US is 1 in 68 children have some form of autism. In Malaysia, is 1 in 625 children. This is from a study done in University Kebangsaan, Malaysia in 2015. With that, summarize again, autism is a neurobiological disorder with social communication, impairment in social communication. They have repetitive, restrictive behavior in narrow area of interest, with a narrow area of interest. They have associated sensory issues. Moderator?
Yeah,
Christina,
thanks, Dr.
back
Shan.
to you.
Dr. Shan, we have quite a number of questions. Okay,
Yes.
are you ready to take the first one?
Yes.
All right, so the first question comes from Cheryl. Okay, she's asking, is it true that autism in male and female is different? Because she watched a TikTok video before by an American girl who says she was diagnosed with autism at around 17 years old, and she's a very sociable person. So what's your thoughts?
Okay, to answer one.
That's the first, yeah.
Towards the end, my slide there showed it's 4 times more common in boys than girls. It doesn't mean autism does not affect girls. We tend to pick up more. In fact, for some reason, most developmental disorders are more common in boys. The reason for this is not understood. It's most common in boys. We tend to pick up autism more in boys than girls because boys, they have this sensory issue and they are very active and the parents cannot tolerate the behavior and they come for a consultation. Girls tend to be more passive, right? They tend to be more passive and quieter, and we usually pick them up in school age. Right. See, just yesterday, I saw a family. I had seen the boy, the brother, 2 years ago, at the age of 3. He was 3 years old then. His mother brought him in, no speech, and he was very, very active. Right? At that point, she had no concern about any other child except this boy. And when we went through the diagnostic process, we made a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. Okay, he's going through early intervention. Yesterday, she brought a 14-year-old girl who speaks very well, right? But however, recently she has been noticing this child for a long time has not been having eye contact, right? She likes to segregate herself, right? So girls learn to cope. Maybe the language development was better in the sister in the early years, and she is able to cope better than complain. But now when they come to the teenage years, the self-esteem, the self-confidence is affected. And this then affects the social interaction to a level that it affects her functioning. Right? I have not taken her through the diagnostic process yet, but this is how girls will present in the later age. Either they're not managing with their studies or either due to an issue of self-esteem and self-confidence. And in that question earlier, I also heard this 17-year-old girl is very sociable. Okay. Very sociable. Yeah, that it's a normal, then you're saying, how come she can be autistic? You see, when you don't know boundaries in autism, it doesn't mean they cannot be sociable. Some of these higher functioning children are friendly with everybody. They're not frightened of strangers. They don't know boundary. They don't know personal space. Is it being sociable to that extent? Then that is worrying and that needs to be looked into. That may not be passed off as normal. Yeah, I hope I've answered that question.
Okay, Cheryl, I hope Dr. Shan has answered your question. So the next question is from Irene. She's referring to the story just now about Star. Okay, so you mentioned that he was brought to you at the age of 2.5 years old. So Irene thought autism can only be diagnosed at 3 years old. Is that a misconception?
I think she's coming from the previous DSM-4, Diagnostic Statistical Manual 4 classification, which says that the child has to be 3 years old. The earliest now it says, I will come to the criteria. Now it says the features must be present in early years. No age is specified except early years. The earliest we can diagnose from the history and observation is at 18 months. The child has got autism. So that's the time of the language development and the simple social rule development, the age of the development, the earliest. However, many pediatricians do not rush to label the child at that point. We have to look as a whole, because the trend now, with due respect to parents, to carers, to everyone, is gadgets are becoming babysitters. And when the gadget becomes a babysitter, the child has got not a reciprocating communication. So though at 18 months there's features, we don't rush. I would confidently diagnose a child with autism at 2.5. 2.5. If I saw at 18 months, I'll tell the mom, yeah, there are some concerning features. Yes, we need to monitor. I would advise you to put the child in a playgroup. So therefore, we can diagnose. And in overseas now, they are trying to diagnose in infancy as well based on eye movements. Because lack of eye contact is a feature, important feature in autism. So they are working towards that end to pick up early intervention. Therefore, at the moment, only at 3 you can diagnose does not hold.
Okay, thank you. So the third question comes from Big Jin. A study has shown that most of the child with autism skip the stage of crawling in their developmental milestone. Is that true? So if yes, will the regular prompting of child to crawl at 4 months old improve the learning ability of child as they grow up?
Yeah, okay. A child without autism as well can miss a certain stage, like crawling. There are many children who don't crawl, but they sit and bottom shuffle. I mean, with their butt, they sit up and then they use the hand as the row and they bottom shuffle. Bottom shufflers are late walkers. So firstly, to answer that if you miss crawling, it does not necessarily mean you have a problem. Because we have to look at the whole picture again, not one skill. After the child has missed crawling, did the child stand up, stand with support, stand on his or her own, start walking? So he just happened to. And we look at the family history. There may be other children or the parents themselves may have missed the crawling. Yes. However, when we look at the development as a whole, there's sometimes bottom shufflers are late walkers. Bottom shufflers may have a learning problem. But it's not always. It may be like I said, the red flag, you take it as a sign, you keep it in a note, and you monitor the child. So repeatedly, what I'm emphasizing is we do not make a diagnosis on one point. You have to look at the picture as a whole. Yeah?
The
Christina?
second part of the question is, will the regular prompting of child to crawl at 4 months old improve the learning ability of child
Okay.
as they grow up?
Firstly, children start to crawl at 9 to 11 months. Okay. So I think the question is maybe you start whispering to a child, crawl or sing songs. Is that I'm not sure. I'm not saying it as a joke. I'm thinking that's what it means. No, there's a software in the cortex, neurocortex, where there's myelination occurring. That means the nerves are getting their membranes over them. As the membrane develops, that's where the skill happens. So if you look at the gross motor skill, it starts from the neck down. At 3 to 4 months, the child is able to hold the head up. At 4 to 5 months, roll over. 5 to 6 months, roll back. And 6 to 8 months, sit with support. 8 to 10 months, sit without support. 9 to 11 months, start crawling. 11 to 13 months, start standing and with support, then without support, then start walking, and by 18 months walking. It's such a logical process. That part in the neurocortex, the membrane is developing. So that is a process. So anything that affects that process will affect the crawling. It's not telling the child to crawl, but however, giving the child an opportunity to crawl. Like you just said now I said that giving the child an opportunity to walk. If you're always carrying the child, not letting the child on the ground. If the mummy is worried my child will fall and hurt, and we're carrying, the carer is always carrying, you're not giving an opportunity for the child to walk, to crawl or to walk. That will affect. So giving an opportunity will encourage them to crawl, will encourage them to walk.
Okay, thank you. The next question from Shakila. Okay, so she said, "Hi doctor, do autism people have sexual desire?" So she's asking this because she's dealing with a case where a boy is accused for sexual assault.
Okay, so moderator, you don't mind I answer it now because we are still in what's autism, and I've got a couple of slides more to go. I can answer it in a short. In short, I can say, see, as I autism is only the way they think. It's their perception, the outlook of their life is different from ours. That doesn't mean they don't have taste, they don't have desire. They have. And they do have sexual desire, right? They do have, but the way they express it is difficult. As earlier, in one of the slides I showed, they do not understand social rule, inappropriate touching, right? So was it actually an assault, or that individual did not understand I'm not supposed to touch? So in short, the answer is they do have sexual desire.
few more. Bear with me, Dr. Shan. Okay, this is from Mr. Tao. He asks, when a child has a repetitive behavior routine, okay, how do we address this issue?
Okay, I'll come to that in
Okay.
further slides later. Okay, go on. Any
So I think this question is also something related to managing autistic
Yeah.
children, how to prepare parents with unpredictable, how to support them as parents. So I think you will cover this
as
in
we
one
go
of
on.
your sections. Yeah.
Go on. Yeah.
Okay.
Shall we? Yeah. You have another question for me?
Yes,
Your question,
yes.
the moderator's question.
No, not from me. There are a lot of questions from the audience. Okay, another one from Erica. I heard that early intervention is crucial for those with autism. What if the child is unable to receive early intervention? As in their parents only try to send their children for intervention when the child is already 9 years old. Can the development of the child be improved?
Okay. Yeah, I will answer this question. I've got another slide because the next part is on diagnosis and after that is on management.
Okay.
Shall I continue with the presentation and then I answer this question as we go?
I think so. All right. Okay. For the rest of you, please bear with us. So let Dr.
No,
Shan.
I would like to. I like to because many of your answers will be in the slides that to come, and I will take questions later as well.
All right. All right. So the next question that you'll be addressing will be how to diagnose autism.
Okay. Yeah. My slides are not. Yes. Okay. I've got that. Okay. Next is we have known the features of autism. How to diagnose? First and foremost, there is no blood test or there is no specific investigation or scan that can tell you, oh, I've looked at the brain, your child has got autism. No. At this point in Malaysia, at least we don't have that. Diagnosing this is from a detailed history and observation. And observation, you got two types of observation. One is subjective observation, that is observing the child play, free play. And the other is objective observation, where you use a standardized toys to play with the child. So firstly, how do these children present? Most of the time they come in or either into the private centers or into clinic kesihatan or in government hospital because of speech delay or speak their own language, or one of the questions that was sent in earlier had this alien language where they go and you do not know what they are saying. This is called gibbering. Many times they come in because of speech delay and gibbering. And the second reason to come in is they're active. Parents have had enough. They can't manage any longer, like you heard the Star's mother saying. Then there are other reasons they come in as well. Not playing with other children, they like to be on their own, or not engaging with children in kindergarten. Or they have this different behavior, like you see the child with the little ducklings, all arranged in a row and staring. Yeah, I do arrange and I do stare as well. But what will be the difference? The difference is this child is persistent all the time wants that, and if you disturb that, you have a massive tantrum, a very severe tantrum. For a small move of one of the duckling, you have a you may scream, cry, fall down, knock his head. That is out of proportion sort of tantrum you can have. And this is the reason for parents to come in. So when they come in, how do I, my process of diagnosing is like this. It cannot be diagnosed in 5 minutes. As I told you, with just these 2-3 things that the mother tells me, like what Star's mother told me at the doorstep, if I try to tell, say, oh yeah, your child has autism, that is guesswork. That is guesswork, with due respect. To me, that is guesswork. It takes time. When I worked in overseas, it is actually different sessions over a week because a multidisciplinary team works on that. In Malaysia, we do have multidisciplinary teams, but they're mainly around Klang Valley. But me as an individual practitioner, what do? I want to know how this child is at home, and if the child is going to kindergarten, how the child is there. So I have questionnaires for the parents and the teachers to fill up for me, so I have an idea of how the child is outside my clinic, in the real world. And I ask parents to bring video clips of behaviors that they're worried about. Video clips, 30-second video clips about their behavior, about their tantrums, anything that you're concerned, just do a short video clip. Let me see. I may not see it in my clinic. I can see it in the clinic. Then a detailed interview, which takes about an hour and a half, depending on what stage the parents come in. From birth up to today, in every aspects of their development, including their self-help skills and how independent they are. Then I observe this child subjectively and objectively. Then you make a summation referring to the diagnostic criteria, make a diagnosis. I have my own questionnaire, and a standard questionnaire is MCHAT, which is Modified Checklist for Autism in Toddlers. This is not a diagnostic tool. It is a screening tool to identify children at risk for autism. Now, another very helpful tool is the video clips that the parents bring in. Not only the behavior, I also ask for video clips of how they play with their other children, how they play on their own with their toys. And this gives me a lot of answers. As I said, the detailed interview goes through all these aspects.
Doctor, this is Geeta
Yeah.
here. Since you are talking about MChat, I would like to address one question in the chat box which is related to MChat by Bunga Anak Budul. She's asking, normally in primary care, mother, child and health at age 18 months, we do MChat screening with it so that can be there's an early detection for sign of autism in child. Her question is MChat is the best way that nurses can identify the symptoms? That's a question there.
See, okay. MCHAT is a parent-filled questionnaire. And just as you said in your last sentence, many a time, it is, I'm told the nurses fill that column up. Actually, it is a column for parents to fill at 18 months and at 3 years. It is in the child health record book given to every parent. And MCHAT looks at different behaviors. It looks at behaviors, it looks at communication, and it looks at certain skills that have mainly on behavior and communication. And there are certain questions like how they play with the other children, do they respond to your call? There are 23 questions there. And I advise the parents, read those questions first, observe your child for 1 to 2 days, and then fill it up. Don't fill it up on the spot. Understand those questions. That is when MCHAT becomes reliable. And it is a parent report. It's a parent report. And this is not a screening, this is not a diagnostic tool. It is a screening tool. And if the child fails, that means if 2 of the critical questions the child fails, or any 3 questions the child fails, then you have to refer to a pediatrician for further assessment. It does not mean the child has autism. The child is at risk for autism, and then you assess. So what exactly this ma'am wants to know? I don't quite understand the question. I just explained MChat again.
Yeah, Bunga, are
Gita?
you there? Would you want to unmute your mic and ask Bunga? Bunga is from KK actually. Bunga, are you there? Um, I think she's not responding, doctor. But probably you can carry on.
So as I say, it's a parent report and it's done at 18 months and 3 years. Okay. Okay. An observation, subjective. Subjective observation, like I was observing star as I was taking history. Then I spent some time after I've completed the history. Sometimes while I'm taking the history in the consultation room, my nurses are playing with the child and they do video clips for me. There are times I come out in the front area and I sit on the floor at the same level with the child and then try to play with the child and observe the child. There are times I've gone into the nursery to observe the child in a real environment, to get to observe and to myself see the behavior and the interaction of this child and how this child communicates with others. And the standardized toy set, or what is called Autism Diagnostic Observational Schedule, can be used for toddlers as well as preschoolers. There are different set of toys for different group of children. You present it to them in certain way and you see how they play with it, and then you take and you record your observation, and then you score this, and then based on the score, you look whether this child falls into the autism spectrum. But at 2.5 and with a very active child, many a time using an objective tool is difficult. So the best answers come from a subjective observation. And if one investigation we would do, any child with speech delay, they need a hearing test. Even I'll tell the parents, I take it from you, your child can hear, but we need an objective assessment to say 100% your child can hear, different frequencies, different pitch. Because a child who is deaf also can behave like a child with autism. So if you miss it, then management becomes difficult. Because managing a child with hearing impairment, there are some differences there, because you have to correct the hearing impairment. And based on all the history, the observation, the finding, then I use the DSM-5 criteria. Yeah, this is the criteria. You see, I will not go through every line. The key words there: persistent deficits in social communication and social interaction. That is criteria A. And those are the features that I'm looking for from the history and the observation. Restricted repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, or activities as manifested in these two of this. And this is what I'm looking for. And see, criteria C, symptoms must be present in early childhood. Here, they do not specify the age of 3. But sometimes in early childhood, the history the parents may give earlier, the child already has these symptoms. And then progressively, it becomes more established. And what is most important is these features impair the everyday functioning of the child. What's the functioning of the child? To sit down and eat, not always running about. Impair the functioning of the child. Preschool children to develop pre-academic skills. But if they're running about all the time, they cannot sit down, they cannot take instruction, it is affecting their functioning. And you should not have any other illnesses to explain this behavior. We never do a developmental assessment when the child is unwell. If the child is down with a flu, cough, cold, no. When the child is well, that is the time where we will do a developmental assessment. And the term autism spectrum disorder comes. Previously, what they call Asperger's, the higher functioning or individuals with autism, or where they could not classify, they did not fall into any criteria, pervasive developmental disorder, not otherwise specified, or autistic disorder, the first one. All this is now classified just as autism spectrum disorder. And then we categorize the level 1, level 2, and level 3. And this is basically based on, I said earlier that STAR was level 3. Why did I say so? We look at the speech. Level 1 children have speech. They can speak in sentences. I have a boy, 4 years old, Nathaniel. He'll come into the clinic and say, "Hello, Dr. Shan, I've come for a consultation." Right? That's how he talks to me. They can use that language when they want something, but they can't use that language for social purposes. You look at this child, he's away from the group on his own. Can't use that language to make friends. That is the biggest difference. Yeah. Speech level is the best in level 1. They can speak in sentences, but they can't have conversations, social conversations. Level 2, they may have words. Level 3, they don't have words, and they don't even understand non-verbal cues. Level 1, they have slight social skills. Level 2 and level 3, they don't have much social skills. Level 1, they are more independent. Level 3, they are totally dependent. The sensory issues are more in those with level 3. So that is why level 3, they require very substantial support. It's based on the support the child will need. Level 2, they require substantial support, and level 1, they require support. Level 1 children can be in mainstream kindergartens with extra help. So after the diagnosis, that's not enough. Once we have known the level, we need to understand the child, the strength, the areas that need support, and whether there is any other comorbid situations, like they have sleep problem. Some of these children may have fits. Some may have very, they have gastrointestinal problem, either constipation is an issue or they have loose stools on the other hand. Not all of them. We look for them. And many of them are clumsy. And some have special skills in music, computer, art, and any other skill area. So we look for this. Like Stephen Wilshire here, he's drawn an 18-feet picture of New York City skyline. And he only saw it once from a helicopter tour. And you see with how much detail he has drawn this. This is savant skill. His speech and language is limited, but look at the skill that he has. 5% of children with autism have savant skill. Okay, the last slide in this section is, what is the cause for autism? We now know there is a genetic link. There is a genetic link. It runs in families, or it could be a new mutation. And sometimes it comes along with other syndromes, like called Fragile X syndrome. And the current trend that I'm seeing, whether to call this autism spectrum disorder or not, a different issue. Many of these children have gadgets as their babysitters. I've had children who are on iPad or tablet from 8 a.m. in the morning till 5 p.m. in the evening, except for lunch break and this, like they're going for work. There is an association with gadgets more recently. an association. I won't say as a cause, but we can observe. Not just me, if you talk to any other pediatrician, they will reiterate this. That brings in the group of slides on diagnosis. Back to you, Christina.
Okay, yeah, Dr. Shan. I guess so far most of the questions are related to how parents handle their children. So I guess Ms. Sarah's, your question about heredity has been addressed. Okay, but hold on. There's one question that I find relevant from Alicia. Sorry,
Christina, are
there are
you
just
there?
too many questions.
Yes.
Yes.
Any
I'm looking
questions?
for the
Okay.
question.
Okay. Yeah. Alicia's question is it true that
Yes.
autistic people are weak in maths? That's the question, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Each individual with autism, they may have the diagnosis of autism, but no two individuals with autism have the same features. They do not have the same features. So similarly, not all autism individuals are weak in maths. It varies from child to child. We cannot generalize. Some are, some may have difficulty, but there are maths genius with autism as well. So the answer to the question is not all individuals with autism have difficulty in maths.
Okay, there's one question from HK. Hi, doctor. I don't think my child meet the DSM-5 criterion D now. He's very independent now, but probably lack of social cues understanding. He was diagnosed with Asperger. I hope I've
Asperger's, yes.
Asperger. Is it possible the autism spectrum disorder syndrome diminish over the time as the child grow into adulthood?
Yeah. Can you read the first part of the question again about the social skills? Yeah.
I don't think my child meet DSM-5 criterion D now. He's very independent now, but probably lack of social cues understanding.
And then the second part was improved with time. Yes, am I right?
Yeah. Luna, you've got to wait for a while. Okay, let Dr. Shan answer this question first.
Okay. Yes, like you heard in the story of Star, yes, there will be improvement. The improvement comes with time, with the input, not just from the teachers, a lot of backup work by the parents. Yes, they improve. And many children on the higher functioning, the little difficulty that remains is the social skills and empathy, understanding other people's perspective. If I'm sure many of you have seen the Good Doctor, the program Good Doctor, Dr. Sean Murphy. He plays the great role of a doctor with autism, the high functioning autism. That's the ability. You have autism doesn't mean you cannot be a doctor or an engineer or any other profession. You can. But you will see in that series, Dr. Sean Murphy has very difficulty understanding other people's perspective. There was one series on how you hold the forceps, and the nurse handed it over to him in a slightly different way, and he got upset, and he told her off in a big way. And because he could not understand, sometimes it can be slightly different. So there will be many improvements in many areas as the child grows up, as the individual develops, but there might be slight deficits left. But they are functional. They become functional, they can adjust, but in certain situations, they find it difficult to understand other perspectives, social rules.
Okay. All right. Okay, Luna has a question. Luna, go ahead, unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hi, doctor.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
I would like to ask, I'm Luna. I would like to ask, right, when should a parents concern about this autism, like any indication? Actually, I have kids with 5 years old, but I'm not sure whether I should have this concern. So is it possible, like just now you share with us, you have this questionnaire. So is it possible that you do share the questionnaire so that we have some idea? That's the first one. The second one is like, if let's say like I do have some concerns, do you have any like places I can go for in Klang Valley area? Because Ipoh is a bit too far for me. If I'm going to look for you, of course I want to look for you if I can, but I think Ipoh is a bit too far for me.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Yeah, definitely. I'll answer your question here. The first thing is, when my first set of slides, in the first set of slides, if you notice, we went through normal development before coming to autism. So in all the well child visit that you have taken your 5-year-old, there would have been monitoring of his development in every area: gross motor, fine motor, speech language, as well as emotional and behavior development. So it is through this tracking, this monitoring, that we become concerned whether there is a delay or there is a concern. So for a 5-year-old, what would you expect the child to be doing? 5-year-old, in terms of speech, right? Should be talking in short sentences, should understand instruction, should be able to play together with other children, start playing together, not just at the side. They should be trying to playing together. So these developmental milestones are the first indicator whether there is a concern. We don't talk about autism or no autism, whether there is a concern about the development or not. So it's monitoring. So it's looking back into his injection book, child health record book, or I call it in simple terms, the injection book, and seeing how his development been in this over the years. And are you concerned about him? That is like, will ring a bell. Oh, there are some concerns. He's 5 years old. He's not still not talking in sentences. That is not equal to autism, but that is a developmental concern, a red flag. I need to check this. That's when you go for an assessment. The second, in Klang Valley, where you can go for a multidisciplinary center, as I told you, University Malaya has got a center. UKM has also got a center. Desa Park City, you can go there. There are 2 developmental pediatricians there, Dr. Ranjini and Dr. Raja Junita. You can Google and go to any one of them. And if you're concerned with the development of your 5-year-old.
Okay, one more question. I do not know whether you want to address it now or maybe perhaps later. Okay, hi doctor, this is from Amanda. Upon diagnosis, if parents are in denial, is there any way that we could help the child?
Well, I will come to this in the next section.
Okay. I think HK HK would like this question to be answered. Is it possible an autistic child to develop Tourette, TOURETTE syndrome? Sometimes my child has this habitual tic, but it goes away after some time.
Okay, Tourette syndrome. So the question is it a child with autism can develop Tourette syndrome?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Yes.
As in my previous slides, children with autism, when we try to understand them, we look at comorbid conditions. So they can have comorbid conditions, or other conditions and children with other conditions can have autistic features. Like earlier, I mentioned Fragile X syndrome. They can have autistic features. Okay. The child having tics alone is not sufficient. With that little information that I have now, Tourette's syndrome is one of the cause, but may not be. Part of autism, you can have tics as well. So it is important you have a discussion with a pediatrician near you, whether this is part of the autism or if the child is developing Tourette's syndrome, whether he's got, then they'll go through to see whether there are other features. As I repeatedly say, with one feature, you cannot make a diagnosis. You have to see a whole picture.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Shan. Shall we go for a 5 minutes break, or do you want to continue?
I think, what do the participants feel? I think if they want a 5 minutes break, we can have a 5 minutes break and come back to the next session.
Yeah, it's 3:25 right now. I guess we can take 5 minutes break and come back at 3:30. Is that okay, everyone? So the session will resume at 3:30. So the Google Form link for attendance purposes will be shared shortly. Remember to fill it in before you leave the meeting. So we will come back at 3:30. Okay. We take a short break then.
Dear Ebony, please post the link, attendance link at the chat box, Ebony.
Okay, there was a question about where to go for diagnosis in Penang. They can go to Island Hospital or Logon Lai Hospital. I think there they have teams that make diagnosis. Gita, you can put it in the chat group. Huh?
Okay, Dr. Island Hospital. Another one is Dr.
Or Logon Lai. Logon Lai.
L-O.
H Lo.
Okay.
Guan, G-U-A-N.
Okay.
L-Y-E.
L-Y-E. Okay, Doctor.
Doctor, can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, yes.
My name is Kausalya. I'm asking behalf of my friend. She has a son who is 5 years old. So her son actually can read, can write, can recognize objects, can sing well and read well. However, when she asks him questions, for example, what did you do in school? He's not able to express it. Is that a symptom of autism?
Is it only in school he cannot answer a question?
His teacher, he's very well. I mean, he loves to interact with his friends, and he's the first person to answer to the question if the teacher asks. You know, for example, the alphabets, the numbers, the suku kata in Bahasa Melayu. But however, when he comes back to school, when his mother asks him, okay, Mavinish, how did you do? What did you do in school? What you ate? He's not able to express that.
Is he not able to express or he does not want to express? That's what we have to differentiate.
I do not know whether he has that difficulty in expressing or don't want to express. But if he wants something, he's able to speak. For example, if he wants to watch his TV program, just a short sentence. And she also realized that he doesn't sound like, reasoning using the word because.
He uses the word because?
No,
or he doesn't use.
He doesn't use because in his sentence.
Okay. Does he reverse pronoun? Like I tell you, giving you an instruction, you sit down. And then instead of telling me, I will sit down, you say, you will sit down. Does he reverse pronoun that way?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes he imitates the parents. But he is not showing any symptoms of hyperactive.
Has there been any other concern about him other than this area?
Only this, doctor, and speech, only language.
Yeah. What about speech?
You mean speech?
Yeah, you said the main concern was he is not expressing himself. I
Yeah.
mean, telling the story at home. However, in school, he's the first child to put up his hand, interact with his friends, all that. That means he's
Yes, correct.
expressing himself in school, but not expressing himself at home.
Yeah. That means he doesn't tell us the story, what happened in school. So the parents doesn't know. If the teacher beats him also, we don't know.
Okay. If we leave that out, what about other situations? Does he tell the mother about other leave the school out? In other circumstances, does he tell mom stories?
No.
Okay. As I told you, we cannot make a diagnosis from one feature, right?
Okay.
Yes, but if this is persistent, then it's something concern, and I think there's no harm in going for a consultation and checking it out. Because when you look at it as a whole, then maybe other stories may come or may not come. That's when we'll be able to say, this is just him, or, oh no, there's an issue. See, from just the few statements that you tell me, I can't say he's got a problem, but it seems to be troubling the parents. So if it is troubling them, then I think they need to check it out.
Okay. All right. Thank you, doctor.
If you see many of these questions about development with one feature, two features here, and I do understand you want an answer, but that's not how it works, because then again, when in my slides I said, if we do it in 5 to 10 minutes, we are doing a guesswork. So if it's really troubling her home or family, her parent, then it's best to check it out. But sometimes, with due respect, it can be very daunting to go for a consultation. Right? I hope you all understand what I'm saying.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
everyone, shall we continue? All right. So welcome back, everyone. We shall continue with the third question, Dr. Shan. How do we manage autism?
As I share my slides, where do I go to admit? And yeah, as I share screen, go back. Managing autism. Okay, just.
I think the
Okay.
third question is what is the
Cause.
cause?
I already,
yes.
my last slide was on that before I ended.
Okay.
How to manage autism? In fact, each section, each of the question the moderator has asked me, you can do a full public forum about it. And how to manage will be the longest public forum, because not only the presentation, but the number of questions that will come along with it. I have tried to summarize and keep it simple with basic principles. Let me go up. Okay. Now, how to manage? The management again depends on the age and severity. The age at which the diagnosis is made and how severe the autism is. So that is why the intervention centers need to know if this child is level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1 children can manage in regular kindergartens. As I said, so when we pick up in at 2.5, at 3 years old, then they go for what we call early intervention program. An early intervention program has got 3 prongs to it, and it starts from the parent empowerment. Number 2, teaching in a specialized environment in a way the child can understand. And number 3, therapy. All these three together, that is what that produced the results. Even 17 years ago, when STAR had minimal services to go to, but these three features were there. He went to an early intervention center, which gave him a place once a week. His mother learned how to do the teaching aid to engage him. That was parent empowerment. She kept her hope. That is, she was supported to manage her emotions, to keep hope. And at the same time, she went for therapy. Three together, work together, you produce the best results. For school-age children, again, you need to know their level of functioning. So here, this is where you need an IQ assessment. We need the support of our psychologist colleagues. We need to know what's the behavioral issues the child has. And with this, then you can decide whether this child can go to mainstream. Those individuals with high functioning autism or Asperger's may be able to, who are independent, may be able to manage mainstream themselves, or those with mainstream with support. And special education integration, I put that. This is the Malaysian style. There is Pendidikan khas integrasi. There is special classroom. And when you make improvement, then they include you into the regular classroom. Or you need to go to 100% special school, which is special education. Again, depends on that individual. It depends on that child. The government now has come up with a zero reject policy. That means even if a child is very severely autistic, has got no language, if the parent wants to keep the child in the mainstream classroom, they can and they cannot be stopped. That is zero reject policy. Well, later we can open that to discussion. Is that the good of it, and are there any issues as a result of it? We can discuss it later. And when we come to young people and adults, how do we manage them? Here, now they are in an age they are going to work. Like Star is 19, he's doing an accounting course, and then he wants to do his professional course, after which he wants to be an accountant. So he has an ability to go through college. For others of differing ability or a lesser ability, they need to go through vocational training. And there is vocational training provided by the government and also by non-governmental organizations. And there are young people with autism, with Asperger's high functioning autism, they can go through college and universities and become professionals. One of the issues with them is managing their self-confidence and self-esteem. Because they are clever and they can go into the society, they know their difference. And this keeps bugging them and can put their self-esteem and self-confidence down, and that can lead to anxiety and depression. That is an area that we deal with in young people and adults with autism. And in the long term, whether they're going to have independent living or do they need residential living, again depends on their severity of their autism and how much improvement they make with time. Okay, that's giving you a broadly about management in the early child or young child, school age, and young person and adult. Without going into very much details, it could be very, it will take a lot of time. Now I'll share with you my experience, what we are doing at Pusat Jagaan 3PKI. What happened? Okay. This is an early intervention center specifically for children with autism spectrum disorder. And it's in Taman Canning, Ipoh. And that's our contact there. And we have an autism specific curriculum. The curriculum is autism specific. And this curriculum, we have bought this curriculum from Is Autism Center, which is based in Rawang. So we are using their curriculum. So the curriculum involves, you see, it uses teach, treatment and education of autistic and communication handicapped children, method for teaching them, that teach method, and applied behavior analysis. What we gather from teach, the principles used from teach are the environment is structured, the routine is set, and we use a lot of visual cues with minimal written language, because individuals with autism are visual learners, right? And whenever you talk to a child with autism, always get them to look at you, keep the sentences short. Come here. Similarly, when you use visual cues, pictures, they may have only a single word, so the child is not confused by the words. And the activity done here, we follow the ABA. It's a step-by-step lessons. And they are guided to get a desired response in each step. I'll explain this. And when they get it, they're given a reward, and you slowly fade away the guidance so that they become independent. What does all this mean? Okay. The first part in Pusat Jagaan 3PKI, when a child is referred there, they must come from a doctor's saying, with a letter saying that they have autism spectrum disorder. The next what we do is the teachers there do an assessment. They do Denver developmental screening. They use the Denver developmental screening to test it and do a screening to find at that point in time what is the level of functioning of the child. The child referred to us is at 4 years, but his language ability is how many years old? His social skills is how many years old? His gross motor skills are at what age? His gross motor, fine motor skills are at what age? We need to know that. That is the starting point. So we do a developmental screening there. Then the next is a detailed assessment over 4 afternoons where they focus on each area and take down points. And we do video recording with the permission of the parents to review it, to get points for us to develop an education plan for the child. We look at the attending skills, we look at the imitative skills, expressive, receptive language, play skills, and self-help. All this data accumulated, we do an individual education plan. If you look at these color pencils, yeah, every individual, the colors, different colors indicate every individual with autism is different. Their learning ability is different. Their learning style is different. So this assessment is we are trying to find out their learning ability and learning style and match it with an appropriate program. If you see the pencils, the matching pencils. So they may be different color, but that's the style that is suitable for this child. That's how we match. That is simple terms, individual education plan. And it starts with the current skill of the child and what is our target over 1 year. Where do we want to take this child? And each skill started teaching with a simple task to a difficult task. And initially there's frequent prompt and slowly the prompt is faded away. Okay, just to give you an example. Okay, if you all can see in camera, I'm holding what is called an individual education plan, and it has got various headings. You may not be able to see the words, but I tell you, our long-term goal, first long-term goal, sit on the chair independently. A child needs to sit and have eye contact to start learning. So the very first skill in the attending skill that we want to teach is sit on the chair independently. And then we set short-term goal. The child to sit for 1 second, then 2 seconds, and then 3 seconds. Then we have a strategy, how we will be doing this and how we move and increase the time which the child sits down. And every achievement is recorded every day. And we progress. And the moment he is able to sit independently, then we move on to the next skill. So this is how an IEP works for each skill, one by one. If I share the screen again, that is one that is meant by his current skill. He is not able to sit at all, and his target skill he's able to sit independently in a year. We set for a year, and a simple task, first 1 second, then we progressively increase it as long as he can. And initially we prompt with gestures, getting him to sit down, and eventually he has to sit independently. Yes. So that is how the training goes on. The teachers work with the children. Then it's the teaching. Wait, let me move my slide.
You still can.
I'm not sure why the slide's not. The slide doesn't seem to be moving.
Dr. Shan, you can stop sharing and share again. Stop sharing and share again. Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't seem to be moving.
Okay, you can put it into normal mode instead of presentation mode.
Presentation mode. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
This mode. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not shared yet.
It is not. I am not sure why it is not moving.
But now it's in the presentation mode. Maybe you can stop and just put it in normal PowerPoint mode instead of presentation mode.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I will go.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the first aspect, the teaching. And number two, we place a lot of importance on parent empowerment. Parent empowerment is passing on the skill to the parents. So every day when the parents come and fetch the children, they are given feedback how the child was today, what they have done. And from the IEP, summary activity is done for the parents for them to follow at home. This needs, what is done by the teachers need to be continued by the parents. Yes. This is empowering them because the long-term journey is with the parents. It's not with the professionals, it's not with the therapists, it's not with the teachers, it is with the parents. So it's very, very important to empower. Once a month, we have a parent sharing session, and also we have training. Recently, we had on sensory issue. And then we also invite speakers, psychologists, occupational therapists, speech therapists to come and do presentation and live demo on how to deal with the difficulties the parents are having. And beyond that, now I come to the question, if a parent is in denial. Many a times in my practice, I've had this situation after I've made the diagnosis and I've gently opened up the diagnosis to the parents, gently, but to the point. Their parents have turned back and said, doctor, how do you know? How sure you are? You only spent 2 hours with my child and you are saying my child has got autism. Well, firstly, I don't go into defensive mode. What I tell them is, we went through a process. The process, how I look at the child even before the child came to the clinic, through the questionnaire, video clips, And then through the process in the clinic, then we made a diagnosis. But I do agree with them. Yeah, 2 hours. I'm saying 5-10 minutes cannot. Even 2 hours, some parents don't accept. And they say, no. Do I argue with them? I don't. But I do stand with my professional opinion and I say, yes, you are entitled to a second opinion. So if a parent does not want to accept the diagnosis, or then it is the right, because the child belongs to the parents. So it's when parents engage. It is when parents engage that is when actually the movement forward occurs. But you cannot force. Think about yourself. Can you accept certain issues when someone tries to force it on you? Or do you accept those issues when you progressively understand and realize, yeah, it makes sense now. What doctor said makes sense now. Yeah, I'm also seeing this. Yes, this has happened. Parents who have told me in 2 hours, doctors, I can't accept your diagnosis, and they've gone. I no argument. And yes, you are entitled to your opinion. Yes, in a very nice way, we end the conversation, and they've come back to me in 1 year after 1 year because the kindergarten cannot, the child cannot adjust, not just one, but 2 kindergartens. And is that the time to point the finger and say, hey, that day I told you? No, that's not the time. The important is to engage them. And when they engage, when they have, so a direct answer to your question, if the parent does not accept the diagnosis, there's not much we can do. Right? Any parent in our center, we do not force our views. Sometimes we say they are behaving like this. We think it is used to that. Then the mother has her own opinion. No, we leave it. But when the mother comes back to us and says, yeah, today I noticed at home also he's doing this, that's the time we listen to them and then we give them suggestions. Engagement is very, very important. Not confrontation, it's engagement. So thus, listening is more important than telling. Okay. And then therapy, occupational therapy and speech therapy. Occupational therapy, they help in helping the child to regulate, to control sensory input into him. Sensory processing, help him in sensory processing through all these activities of jumping in the trampoline, swinging, running up and down, climbing, using the excess energy, and then helping them to regulate their sensory processing, help them in their daily living skills, help them in their fine motor skill. And speech therapy is to encourage communication. The reason why I stopped was just now, before completing the sentence, is it just came into my mind. Just 2 days ago, I had a father who told me, doctor, I want you to send me to a center that will make my child talk. Okay. I kept quiet for a while. Then I looked at the dad, I smiled at him, and I said, Dad, there's no center that can make your child talk. Yeah, even Pusat Jagan 3PK. We can encourage your child to talk. Yeah, the encouragement. Yeah, this is the wrong concept. Right? Go to speech therapy, child will start talking. No. Speech therapy start with communication, non-verbal communication. And then they encourage the language. Because you have the software in the brain, in the broadcast area, and you have to stimulate that. If the child is the whole day in front of the TV, whole day with the gadget, where is the stimulation for the child to talk? Remember the story of Star? Mummy sings to him every night. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. And many other nursery rhymes. See, then he picked up the words, picked up the thing, and he came up, Mummy, I love you. She must have read a story to him. It's so important for mummies and daddies for the children to say, I love you. Right? So it is your stimulation, your encouragement that brings the language. Therefore, okay. And if you look at the therapy here, even in this picture, speech therapy is mainly desk activities. Sit down and do. So if an active child the first therapy that is needed is occupational therapy. When they are able to sit and take instruction, then we refer them to speech therapy. At 3PKI, we have our sensory room. Thank you to CIMB Foundation for sponsoring it. We have this, and we are now working to bring in occupational therapy so that we have occupational therapy within Pusat Jagaan 3PKI. And in the longer term, we hope to have speech therapy within the center as well. Okay. That brings an end to the section on how to manage.
All right, Dr. Shan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, it's 3:55 right now.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
right. So I guess you would like to address the last question, the long-term effect. What's the long-term effect of autism?
Okay. Long term. Wait, let me go back to the slide.
Yeah. Unfortunately, everyone, we may not have time for a Q&A, but I will copy and paste Dr. Shan's email address here in the chat box. So you can send him your question, your burning question, if you have any. We don't mind, right, Dr. Shan? I guess we do not have time for Q&A now. Yeah. So I will copy and paste your email address and send to all of them.
To summarize,
Yeah.
the management of an individual and the long term, it depends very much when was this person diagnosed, what is the support the person received, how consistent were they in that support, and how severe was the condition, and whether he has got any comorbid condition. If you take the story of Star, with the support he got, he made improvement. He is now in college. If the question for me is, will that be the long term for every child with autism? The honest answer is no. It depends on these questions. How severe? Okay. In Star's case, it was level 3, but he had the support. He had the continuous support going on, the family, the mother, and he was going to the education center in the school. So he has made progress. So positive outcomes can come if we focus on the now and provide the right support for the child. There are positive stories, positive long-term stories. There are also children who have remained with no speech and who need a lot of support and who need to go into residential care. But at first point, when I see them, we can't predict this. It is time which will give time and support given, which will give the answer for the direction. Okay. I'm trying to go to the next slide. Okay. Just to summarize, autism spectrum disorder is characterized by impairment of social communication and social interaction. There is restricted, rigid, and repetitive behavior. It is a neurobiological disorder. It's a spectrum. There are very high functioning individuals with autism, with low functioning individuals as well. No two individuals with autism spectrum disorder are the same. These are famous people with autism. Here you see that is Einstein and Dr. Temple Grandin. And you have, do you recognize this person? This is Dr. Sean Murphy, who plays the role, who can really make you feel what a high-functioning individual, high-functioning autistic individual is like if you see his program, The Good Doctor. It gives you a good understanding. And thank you. And before I take a step back, I'd like to say in Pusat Jagaan 3PKI, we are now hiring teachers and assistant teachers, and we're looking for volunteers. If any one of you are keen, you can get my contact address from contact email ID and a WhatsApp number from the organizers, and contact us. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Autism is always unique, totally interesting, and sometimes mysterious. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you
Christina,
so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Shan, for enlightening, creating awareness, and sharing all that you know about autism to all of us here today. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so I guess time is running out. We do not have time for Q&A anymore. So, but Dr. Shan, do you mind if I share your Gmail address with the participants over here so
Yeah.
that they can send their questions to you if they haven't been addressed?
Is this
Yeah.
the email address for
Your Gmail address.
3PKI, as well as the WhatsApp number is also 3PKI WhatsApp number. You can share that as well.
The
Did
one
you
that
have
I
it in my?
The one that I have is shanarayanan@gmail.com. Is that okay?
Have you shared that? Okay, they can send that question. Or
Okay.
you want me to put the number, or have you already shared?
Yes,
Doctor. Yes, doctor, you can
Yeah,
share your number there. We have only
Yeah.
shared your Gmail number.
Address.
Gmail
Okay,
address.
I will
sorry.
share this 3PKI WhatsApp number.
Okay.
It's only a WhatsApp number. You can't call. You can WhatsApp to us on this number.
All right. So yeah, on behalf of CLT and CAP, would like to off your busy schedule to be here with us today. So thank you so much. And to the enthusiastic participants, thank you for joining us. I can say we had a very fruitful session.